week 14 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers this week. The first guy, Parker Washington of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is sixth-round rookie. He impressed in last week's game, coming in after Christian Kirk went down with injury and was playing the slot. 6 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. So this week, I know it's a tough matchup, but the Browns give up the second least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. But Beathard and Parker Washington, I think, working with the second team all season in practice and training camp, are going to have a good rapport, and he could go out there and make some plays. Washington available 97% of fantasy leagues. He's a speedy wide receiver, and he's hungry as well, obviously, being a 6th-round pick and barely making the NFL. So now with Christian Kirk out multiple weeks with his core injury and going under the knife, I think Parker Washington in deeper leagues could be a decent sleeper option. I know it's a tough matchup. I know Beathard's in there at quarterback, but like I said, him and Beathard most likely have rapport, working with the second team the whole season. The next receiver is Khalil Shakir of the Buffalo Bills. So Shakir, he's been on this list a decent amount of times this season here, and he's the slot wideout for this Buffalo Bill team, and we've seen some pop games out of Shakir this season. So the last few weeks for him: Week 10 versus Denver, 1 catch, 24 yards. Week 11 versus the Jets, 3 catches, 115 yards, and a touch. And Week 12 at Philly, 3 catches, 47 yards. So coming off the bye week, I think Shakir will get more into the playbook for this Bill team, and this is a must-win ball game for a Bill team that season's been underwhelming at 6-6 going into Kansas City. So right now, I think Shakir could be obviously a sleeper and an under-the-radar guy in this game. And we know Josh Allen throughout his career has always liked hitting that receiver a lot in the slot, going back to Cole Beasley, going back to Isaiah McKenzie. And right now, over the last few weeks, Shakir has been that guy that he's relied on in the slot and making plays. So available in 87% of fantasy leagues. And the third and final wide receiver I have as a sleeper this week here is Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns. So Amari Cooper banged up, and we don't know if he's going to play in this game. And Cedric Tillman all season, we've heard a lot of things about him, that he could break out and he could be a big-time wideout, and he led the team in snaps at the receiver position in Week 13. So the last few weeks for Tillman: Week 12 at Denver, 4 catches, 55 yards. And Week 13 at the Rams, 2 catches, 20 yards. So this week, a good matchup versus the Jacksonville Jaguars that give up the 7th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the season. Tillman out there in 99% of fantasy leagues. Like I said, he's the snaps leader for this Cleveland Brown team, and it wouldn't be surprising me if we see this guy go out there once again, get a bunch of snaps, especially if Amari Cooper's out, and actually put in a decent performance. That's a few wide receivers I have as sleepers for Week 14 of the fantasy football season.